What is the mind virus that they keep talking about? I'm not sure who coined the phrase mind virus, but I believe it was Elon Musk. And I think it's appropriate. It's incredibly fitting. Thing is, it's not a viral virus in the physical sense. It's a spiritual, mental, energetic virus. And a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their minds around things that are in the unseen, things that are intangible. A lot of people rely on their five senses to decipher the world around, to make sense of things. But a lot of people aren't aware of how to work with their energy or what's happening in the unseen. And like I've told you guys before, I think that we're all little channels. We're all little tuning forks. We're all just kind of resonating to whatever frequency is happening around us in our environment, in our lives. Those things have a frequency. Everything has frequencies. And when we're scrolling through our social media or watching television, certain concepts, ideas, ideals, beliefs start to come into our minds. I feel like social media and television, all kind of media sources, even, music, has a way of slipping us into a very low frequency energy, malevolent or even evil, if you will. And I know that sounds, a little bit over the top, but it's not over the top. There is evil in this world, my friends. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because you see the results of what that energy does. We see it every day. Yet we tend to ignore the reasons why these things are happening. And this mind virus is a result of people being ambivalent, people being unaware of what it is that they resonate with. People have become tools for narratives all over the world, not just in America and not just certain narratives. People fall victim to ideologies. And when they buy in big. It's not like they say, oh, I'm going to take a certain amount of good from this and leave the rest. They buy in full, all lock, stock, and barrel, and that's the danger in it, is that unawareness, that willingness to get on board with whatever, because someone is so unaware of what frequency that really is, what it means to take that information in. And so, like I said, these things prime our brain for being receptive to these frequencies. Social media, television, radio, whatever. When we watch, when we listen, we fall into a certain brainwave pattern, and we find that we are in an alpha state with theta activity. And that is when our minds are the most susceptible. And so when it comes to the mind virus, you can see how it's really just kind of come to the surface since the rise of social media. And that's because people are unaware of what it is. They just are falling into a resonant frequency. And I feel like once you've gone too far down that road, you're picking up attachment energies, like I've said in previous videos about how an energy could attach to you, and then you start to bring in more and more and more of those frequencies till the person is just kind of buried underneath that, those levels of frequency, and it's dangerous, it's scary. And I see our future generations being so disconnected from what these unseen things are and being so embedded in the physical world. There's a huge disconnect. And not just that, but it is a total rejection of all things fundamental to having a civil society. The things that are our bread and butter, family, community, common decency, consideration for others. All of these things are under attack. All of these things are being pushed away and pushed by the wayside, and we are devolving into complete chaos because of it. There are rules to living in a civilized society, and those rules are being broken every day. People need to be taught the difference between right and wrong because I don't believe they've been taught. I think that there are generations out there where their parents have failed them horribly by not giving them what they need to have a firm foundation, to be a contributing member of society. People just don't know what that means. And so maybe we'll do future videos discussing what it means to be a contributing member of society, what it means to consider others and to build your community. I think those things are just it's like a dark space, in people's minds. They just don't know what that means exactly. It hasn't been defined, and certainly for some of them have not been displayed to them, so they have no idea what it really means. It's just words to some people. They don't know what it means to be connected, to be a part of a community. Instead, we have communities of people that are avoiding each other, and we have communities of people that are brainwashed against each other. And it's the craziest thing in the world, because whatever these ideas, ideals, concepts are, they are simply that. Ideas, ideals, concepts, and beliefs. They are not tangible. Look how dangerous they are. It's amazing. Fundamentally, we have to get back down to what matters in society, what matters to humans, and what the nature of the human requires, because all of these things have been avoided. And it has created what you call the mind virus. It's just a simple term, but it's very encompassing and it means so much. And if you're one of those people that's out there creating destruction and problems for society, it's time that you get on board with making a world for our future generations that's going to be good. And a world for our future generations is not going to be good if you're willing to jump on every single idea, ideal, belief, or concept that somebody throws at you. If you're willing to take on everyone else's cause without actually having a reason to get behind it, we have a problem. That's the problem. That's the sickness. And for a lot of people, it is based in ego. It's virtue signaling. It's trying to prove that you're not something or that you are something. That in itself is counterintuitive. There are a lot of us out here, we know right from wrong. We were taught right from wrong, actually. But there are a lot of us that didn't teach that next generation right from wrong. We wanted to make everything right for them. We wanted to make everything easy for them. And now look at it. You don't learn lessons in life from having things be easy. And as much trauma and crap that I've had to endure in my own life that, you know what, I probably could have done without some of it and I still would have been fine. But a lot of those experiences shaped the person that I am. And people that are avoidant in allowing their children to have negative experiences and failures and letdowns are doing their kids a huge disservice, because they're going to have to grow up and learn those lessons as an adult, and that's really going to suck because they weren't prepared to experience that level as a child. So there's a lot to digest with regard to the mind virus. And like I said, I feel like the number one problem with it is media, without a doubt, because people just fall into a trance. It is like being hypnotized. For some people, I don't think they have the ability to decipher that. And with that, We have to find ways to introduce these concepts, these principles into our own communities, into our families, into our own lives. And that's where everything starts. It starts with you, of course. And I always say that. You are the work on yourself, get yourself right, and then work on your family, then work on your friends. Help the people around you by giving them knowledge and understanding of how their energy works. I feel like that is going to be the most powerful tool that we have right now to work against this. And the other powerful tool to work against this is, of course, to be aware of what it is that you're allowing into your mind. Even if it's a simple song, I've caught myself singing along to some, song that's saying some really negative, bad shit, and what are we calling on? What are we bringing? What are we asking for when we're, parroting these negative things, in a song? Or we just, so easily do things and just don't even realize, what the ramifications might be, and that sounds so crazy, but it's true, and I'm not feeling like, you can listen to a song and it'll possess your soul. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying if you're listening to something and you're resonating in a certain frequency, then you do have the potential of falling into that frequency and becoming resonant with it outside of whatever media you're involved with. When we're singing along with a song or falling into a trance, watching a television show or scrolling through our social media, seeing all kinds of crazy narratives. And our social media, of course, is going to feed us more of the things that we want to see, the things that we want to hear. So you're probably not seeing a lot of objective opinions when it comes to social media. So, you're being fed all the information that they want you to see, and I think that because, shoot, they even track what you look at online and promote items to you that are things that you were looking at or considering, so everything is geared towards you and what your interests are with regards to that, with regards to social media specifically. And so what you're looking at is going to make a difference. So maybe changing the things that you look at, try to look at more positive things, try to change that narrative in your social media stream and see how that helps. Because I think there will be an impact if you can change the things that you're looking at, interact with things that are more positive. You'll see that change on your stream, but you'll also see that change within yourself. And the other way that we fight back this mind virus is to not be okay with it, to not play along. It's the devil's game to teach tolerance until we can push you over. I don't recommend tolerating anything that's damaging, dangerous, hurtful, harmful, and destructive. And if you know in your heart that it is, then don't align with it. It reminds me of I got laughed at so hard during the pandemic. It was kind of when the masks were starting to fall by the wayside and people weren't requiring them everywhere you went. And I went to a shot clinic for my dogs at this little veterinary clinic, and they have, these clinics where they do vaccinations during certain hours. And I had my dogs there, and we had been waiting outside in line for probably 30 minutes. And as soon as I come into the building, the woman literally yelled at me from across the room that I needed to put on a mask. And I politely said, no, thank you. And then they sent someone over to me with a mask, and they handed it to me, and I took it and I said, thank you. And he stood there and waited for me to put it on. And he asked me to put it on. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I have reasons to not wear it. And he said, well, if you're not going to wear the mask, then we're gonna ask you to leave, And so I was like, okay, you want to ask me to leave? And as I left, I said, is anyone here going to stand with me? Is anyone here going to say that this is complete and total bullshit? Are y'all all going to stand there wearing your masks, standing in line and following these stupid rules? And they all were laughing at me, y'all. I wasn't so aware that they were laughing at me. In fact, it was the person that was with me that said, "Do you realize that everybody in there was laughing at you?" And I said, "You know what? I really don't give a damn, because they're the ones that are laughable." And it was only, a few weeks later before nobody was wearing masks anymore here in at least in my area. I know in some areas they're still wearing masks, but here in Texas we're not wearing masks, and that's completely absurd, and it is upholding a narrative. You're not going to die. They've got you scared to death to think that you're going to die. I mean, we're all going to die, don't get me wrong, but those people that are in fear are really vulnerable to becoming victims of that narrative. And you've seen it already. Look at the number of victims. No one would listen to me. And in fact, I've lost a huge number of friends. I have pretty much dwindled it down to a handful of people that are still with me. The other ones, they stand and they look at me from afar. They snub their noses at me. They act as if they're better than. But we all know that that attitude right there is the reason why we're here. And I'm not living in fear. And I hope that my people aren't going to live in fear. We're going to face life on life's terms, and we're going to live life on our terms. And that's how it's going to be from here on out. And as long as everybody gets on board with it, or let's say the majority of people get on board with it, then we actually have a shot. And I think that the majority of people are awakening to what's going on. And when it comes to our politics and things like that, we have some massive challenges that we are about to have to face. And I hope that we can whip them down and put them in place very, very quickly and painlessly. But realistically, we have to know what we're dealing with, and we can't avoid it, and we can't just pretend that it doesn't exist and strap a mask on and say we're going to pretend and follow their rules, because they're leading us in the wrong direction. When I think about all the people that I've lost and all the things that I've lost, I lost my business. I lost a lot over this. I'm actually lost as a result of all of this mind virus nonsense. My kids all grew up over the duration of the pandemic, and they all became adults, and everything is done as far as that's concerned. And I find myself lost, and I want to go back into the world that I used to know, but it's not there. And the people I used to connect with, those connections are ruined and lost. And it's all because of ego, mind virus, narratives, and fear. It's cost us all so very dearly, and now it's hitting our pocketbooks. And so it's going to be hard for people to continue to deny the worse it gets. So keep your mind clean. Make sure the people in your life understand how energy works and how the things that they are allowing into their mind are affecting the way that they resonate with the things in this world. That big old elephant, we're going to have to eat him, but we're going to have to do it one bite at a time. So take a bite and make sure that you're in the right place, and that you're not a victim of this mind virus, and that the people you love aren't victims of this mind virus. All right, guys, I hope this video helped you in some way. I appreciate your watching, and I wish you all the very best. Take care.